So Jack Dorsey, former CEO of Twitter, went on Breaking Points, and he gave his first interview since leaving Twitter. Now, I have many disagreements with Jack, but I actually respect the fact that he clearly does not look for the spotlight. He doesn't want to be in front of the camera 24/7, and that's very, very rare in today's day and age. Usually people are just falling all over themselves to try to get some semblance of fame. He's actively running away from the spotlight. And I just like that about him as a personal trait, as a personal characteristic or quality. So he gets asked a question here about Elon Musk. And he sort of low-key, slyly obliterates the dude. Because Elon's been under tremendous scrutiny, rightly so, even from a lot of his own fans, for some decisions he's made as the head of Twitter. So let's watch and then we'll break it down.
First, specifically with regard to Elon, do you think he's lived up to his own free speech commitments on the platform? And then what do you see as the tensions between a free speech commitment and a for-profit company?
Well, it depends on where you want the free speech, because we were more, ideally going for a global appreciation of free speech and free expression itself. And Elon took on a principle of anything that's allowed by law on the platform, which sets up a dynamic where you have countries like India and Turkey who made many requests to us back in the day to take down particular journalist accounts or give contact information and to remove them from the platform. So I think it's easier to do in the US, but at the same time, you are dependent right now upon a advertising model, and the advertisers can do things like boycott until policies are changed or actions are taken. And we saw that almost every year I was at the company, we saw that. So my one goal before I left the company was to shift away from this dependency on brand advertising and move to different lines of revenue. And Elon has started with that, and I think that will help the cause of being a platform for truly free speech. But that said, he can always be compelled. He has one person. He's one single point of failure.
You're in a unique position. You believe in free speech. That's something I've never doubted about you. You also are in the unique position of having run one of these companies. Can you give us some anecdotes, as you alluded to, foreign governments and the pressures that you were under, if able, just to give the audience an idea of what it is really like to be in a position to have some of the most powerful people literally on earth coming to you and saying, demanding things of your company, and as someone with principles, how did you navigate that?
India, for example. India is a country that had many requests of us around the farmers' protest, around particular journalists that were critical of the government. And it manifested in ways such as we will shut Twitter down in India, which is a very large market for us. We will raid the homes of your employees, which they did. We will shut down your offices if you don't follow suit. And this is India, a democratic country. Turkey is very similar. Like we had so many requests from Turkey. We fought Turkey in their courts and often won, but they threatened to shut us down constantly. Nigeria, yet another one. I don't think we could even put people on the ground because of what the government might do to our employees if we had them there. And then, of course, the U.S. We started a long time ago a transparency report about all government requests into us, and we're continuing to make it more fine-grained. And these were requests of takedowns or investigations or any number of things that a government would request of us, especially the U.S. government.
In many instances, under Jack Dorsey's leadership, he would tell the U.S. government to kick rocks. Now, in not all circumstances, in fact, there's very clear, and he, owns up to this vis-a-vis the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was censored on Twitter. That became a big deal and a big issue, and Jack Dorsey's open about the fact that, hey, I trusted my people, and we got it wrong. And so he fesses up when it comes to the instances of working with the government, agreeing to government censorship requests, crossing the line. But there are many instances, and you could even see this in the Twitter files, where they're trying to highlight the opposite, where they cave. There's many instances where Twitter, under Jack Dorsey's leadership, said, kick rocks, we're not going to do that. But the best example of it, he just brings up right there. Did you hear the tremendous pressure they were under from the Indian government, from the Turkish government? And without fail, Twitter would tell those governments making authoritarian requests, we are not going to do that. You could come after us 1,000 ways to Sunday. We're not caving. We're not just going to censor the journalists you want us to censor. We're not going to give in to your threats where you say we're going to raid your offices. You do whatever you want to do in your country, but the fact of the matter is we are dedicated to this notion of a transparent, open, free speech-related system. Now, like I said, they didn't live up to that all the time, but here's what's for damn sure. They did a much better job than Elon Musk is doing. Because Elon Musk was just on Twitter the other day responding to Matt Iglesias, basically calling Matt Iglesias an idiot because Iglesias said, hey, why did you give in to the censorship requests of India? Why are you in bed with an authoritarian government listening to all their requests? And Elon Musk smugly, snarkily fires back and makes the argument, you idiot, what would you have us do? Of course we're going to censor. Of course we're going to cave. Of course we're going to listen to the authoritarian government because that's the law there. So if your standard is free speech only where allowed by law, then you don't believe in free speech because there's a lot of authoritarian countries and governments that have banned all sorts of things that would classically be considered freedom of speech. If you have a government in a foreign country that says, censor our opposition, and guess what, bitch? We're in charge, so now it's the law. You're just going to give in to them and then pretend like you're still a free speech absolutist? That's my biggest issue. That's my biggest issue with Elon's leadership. It's one thing to be like, okay, we're going to play ball with all these governments because we care more about accessing the markets than we do about principle. If you just come out and say that, I disagree with you, but at least you're honest. At least you're open. At least you're not playing hide the ball. But Elon Musk has the nerve to pretend like he is the chief free speech bro, free speech absolutist, just saying it the other day in a Twitter Spaces thing with RFK Jr., where RFK was sucking him off, acting like he's a big proponent of free speech. At the same time, he's being more restrictive than Jack Dorsey, than the previous Twitter regime. So this right here, I mean, Jack Dorsey's a nice guy and he's mild-mannered, but this was low-key shaming Elon Musk, where his point is we took a global approach to free speech or tried our best to do so, but Elon has decided we're going to go ahead and go country by country based on the law in said countries. Well, guess what? That means you're way more restrictive, bro. That means you're way more anti-free speech, bro. That's not a debate. That's not an open question. That's a fact. So, that's quite a bombshell story, too. The idea that they took real risks standing up to the Indian government. And by the way, the Indian government has freaked out over this, and they released a statement calling him a liar, etc. Who do you believe? Modi or Jack? For me, it's not even a question. I think Jack is telling the truth here, because there's no incentive for him to lie about this. None. Whereas Modi is a perpetual liar. So there you have it. Jack Dorsey sort of low-key shaming Elon Musk for taking Twitter in a more censorious direction. And it's really, I mean, you know, I think Crystal brings this up in this interview or the new interview with RFK. You know, you can also point out he flat out censored journalists that went after him. Classic example of an authoritarian and not believing in free speech. Remember all of those journalists? It was like a dozen journalists that reported on the feud between Elon Musk and the Elon Jet account. And then Elon banned all the journalists and said, you doxed me. They doxed you. They're reporting on a fight you had with the Elon Jet account. Elon himself had previously said, this jet, even though it's giving away this jet account, even though it's giving away my position in the jet, it's still free speech. I'm going to allow it. Then he flipped on that and went after anybody who dared to even acknowledge its existence or put a link to one of the things they put up. Don't tell me you believe in free speech. You're nowhere near believing in free speech, and your actions prove it more than anything. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.